Okay, so what are we going to start with? First, I always like to have a nice beverage before I start any kind of crafting project because I kind of get in the zone and forget to get up and an hour can go by, and it's always good to stay hydrated. So today while I'm doing this craft, I'm actually drinking a tea that's associated with mental well-being and increasing your psychic abilities. So that has lemongrass and spearmint in it. So if you're looking for a tea to help with that, lemongrass and spearmint tea. Okay, I cut down the branches from the larger tree, and inside to make a bundle of any kind when you're using herbs or sticks or trees or whatever, but when you're using stuff that has bulk that's inconsistent. So this inconsistent bulk that we have here, where you've got the thin stick and then all the fluff towards the end of it. When you want to start making cuts to bring it away from the largest base of the stick, and then as you get these smaller pieces, this is what your bundle can turn into. So today I actually had the crazy idea, I don't know if anybody's already done this, but I thought of a bundle on a stick. So I made one, and this is what I'm talking about. I adhered or bundled all of the extra leaf branches, I don't know what you call evergreen leaves. So I put them all onto a main branch so that when you're burning, now I'll have to try this out, these will be dry in a week or two, but you try it out, you get to burn it all the way to the end sort of without maybe like holding that weird awkward part of the sage. If you have that problem, I have that problem where it gets down to the weird little end of it that you're trying to hold on to. So this is just a new creative idea that I'm trying, and I'll let you know how it goes. As we cut our branches, you want to make it to where you don't have too much twig. So the twig is going to take longer to burn. It doesn't allow as much oxygen into the bundle as these pieces here. So when you get this nice and tight around itself, you're gonna want to not make it so tight that no air gets into the leaves. I'm gonna keep calling them leaves. So we'll snip off a couple of these other branches, teeny tiny little branches, these guys, and I think this guy looks pretty good, so I'm gonna just pull off this. And so I've got this stick, almost like a little basan, little broom there, but we'll get it from here, and just depends on your stick. If you want like a more straight stick, you can try that. Or I'll also show you, you can cut everything off and just make it the regular bundle. You don't have to have your stick in there, but starting with a good base, and then you're layering. So the way that the leaves are growing, this is upright going down, you're gonna lay them opposite of each other so that you have leaves that are growing up going this way and leaves that are growing up going that way. And you do that to help with the thickness of the bundle, to make it more even. And then the sticks that you want inside of it should be thin so that they give enough burn to keep the fluff ignited, but not enough so that it turns into a real fire or there's not enough oxygen and it keeps extinguishing itself. So as we layer on, you can start to see it sort of form. And what I like to do is really get your hand around it, especially if when it's super green, it's really soft and fluffy. So if you hold onto it tight and kind of squeeze it into a form or a shape, all of those leaves start to lay down. And so I did put a nice tablecloth over my desk today because I knew that as you mess with herbs and stuff, you just get little particles everywhere. So be sure to protect your workspace before you start. All right, so as you squeeze it, you can sort of start to feel like this down here is a little thicker than this part up here. So what I want to do is lay that down, and I'll find more pieces that have more of that fluff, and you're just gonna lay them right inside there. So you can continue to layer that as much as you want to give it its desired thickness. We're just gonna keep layering and layering it down. I should move that to where you can see it. So I've started to kind of create this bundle, but remember, as you do this, you do wanna kind of like, see how crazy they get? They go every which way. You do wanna lay them in there and then give them a little squeeze to kind of start forming it into the shape of your bundle. So I'm not sure if I mentioned this already, but this came down because we had a crazy windstorm here, I don't know, 5 days ago in Florida. And my neighbors have been cutting back these beautiful juniper trees for a while now that were hanging over our side of the fence. But as they do, I've been collecting wood for the fire. I've made bundles several times from their stuff that I actually just throw into the fire sometimes to give it that really good smell while you're sitting out there. So this is not the first time I have used tree cuttings or fallen branches for making bundles. It's just an effective way to recycle or reuse, repurpose, which also goes in line with the whole thing with in bulk, right? In bulk is about that rebirth, regeneration. This is basically giving the tree a new life. I mean, otherwise, what would I do? I would cut this up and put it in my yard trash so that they take off to some yard trash dump somewhere. Like, this is such a better use of the tree, and to honor it, to help it live longer in different purposes. So that's one of the reasons why I was excited when I didn't want to see a tree branch in my yard, but I get to make little crafts with it, so I appreciate it. All right, so once you have what you feel like, it's all a matter of opinion. This is really not a science, more an art. Once you get a thickness that you're comfortable with, you know, upon grasping, like what you just think feels right, and you can make several of them. You can keep trying it, experimenting with different types. Like I said, this is the first time this year that I had made one with like a little end to hold on to. Once you've got a good bunch there, all you're gonna do is cut a pretty good amount of string. Cut more than you think you need, because it is really crappy when you get to the end of your bundle and you realize you don't have enough string to tie it off at the end. So I would say it's better to use more than you think you'll need than less. And so this is a pure cotton string, and like I said, it does burn better. That's why you're gonna wanna do it. So I probably have this about 4 times the length of the bundle. So I'm gonna go maybe 5 times the length of the bundle now. And I'll go ahead and clip it. Yeah, scissors. My clippers, they're so sharp they can cut stuff, but they don't cut string. It's the oddest thing. So my handy dandy scissors. And then to start it, this is an intense part, so I'm gonna have to be quiet so I can concentrate. But you get the string to the very middle, you open up the middle, and you lay it out on your table so that you can place the bundle inside what your middle of the string is. And you know, placement and how you do that is all up to you. But this is probably the hardest part of it, where you really have to get it on there centered, and you've got all these little pieces falling around, and it feels very clumsy if you're OCD and a neat freak like me. This feels like I'm not doing well, but it's totally fine. Little pieces are gonna stick out. That's part of the beauty of it. It really looks raw. It's a raw piece of art instead of something super manicured with defined lines. But so we've got our bundle in here, right in the center of our string, and the most important part of this is when you tie your knot, you want to tie it really tight. And guess what? Cotton does not hold tight knots well, you know, like with a one over. So you have to make sure that you, as you pull it close into itself and you're bringing it around that bundle and you're making it tight, you can almost watch as the cotton string releases itself. It doesn't want to stay taut. So you have to pull it tight and then do the shoestring trick where you put your finger in the middle of it. Now here's the little shimmy through. I have my string, and while holding that little spot, I actually have to figure out how to get my 2 strings going the right direction so that I can pull it while having my finger on that knot to get it as tight as possible. So, all right, I've got a double crossover knot there, and it's still pretty loose. So you'll see this in a lot of sage bundles, but we'll just stick that guy right back in there. You take one side of the string, and what you want to do is give it a wrap a couple times. This holds it nice and tight. Okay, so what I forgot to mention there was, you're starting from the middle of the string. Whichever side you go around first, you kind of stop with that one, and then you got to do the opposite one at the same time so that they are the same length. Because like I said, you want to get to the end and make sure that you have a good amount of string left over to tie it off. I'm just gonna keep trying to add this guy back in there. He'll stay eventually. We'll get string around him and he will not be able to go anywhere. I do have this one hanging out of the bottom a bit. Okay, so now I've got my string double wrapped around the end there, and this is all just creative play with it. I found this part to be the most difficult, again, because I wanted it to look really, really manicured, and especially with this shrub, this tree, you're just not going to get all of the little pieces to stay in. So if that's what you're hoping for, good luck. Work really hard at it. I'd love to see it. If you guys end up making your own, you should definitely send me pictures of them. But I'm just wrapping it sort of in a spiral, you know, not too tight of a spiral, but just going up, because, and then I'm doing like a double tie around up here to just hold the string in. Because like most sage bundles that you see, the style of wrapping is they do a cross in front of it. So your cross is just gonna come up and around each time you bring that loop through. And again, perfection is not the goal, usability is, but I think I did all right for my little crosses. So you wrap your string all the way around and you're just tying this off in whatever fashion you want. I really like doing little bows. It's not good for when you burn them, but they're pretty while they're drying. So I like to have them, you know, I like the look of them before I actually use them. I don't just get stuff purely for purpose. I love things that are beautiful. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in a small little bow here after I've wrapped my string around several times. And again, you can feel as you go to tighten this, you can feel the cotton string wanna release really easily. So just give it some tugs, hold it a little tighter, and then make your knot, make your bow. You can snip the ends off if you want to, but this is what it looks like completed. And so there's two things that you can do. You can leave it just like this, let it dry, hang it somewhere. You want to keep it in a darker airflow moving room or environment so that it can dry out and not get mold on it. But if you want to go more for the manicured look, this little guy, he's still hanging out there. If you want to go for the manicured look, just take your clippers, snippers, and make a straight line cutting across it. So this is how they get those really nice edges on the sage bundles. They use chopping knives to cut through them after they bundle really big long ones, and they give it a good whack. So we've trimmed up that bottom there to make it have a little bit more of a straighter edge. And then I simply love the fluff at the end of it. It feels whimsical and magical. I am gonna take the branches that end up sticking out, I'm gonna take those off. I'm gonna cut those out of there. Just so that as it starts, when you go to start this bundle, specifically this one, you have all this nice fringe up here that'll just catch on fire and start to get down into the bundle part of it. So the reason why bundles smolder so well is because they're not exposed to so much air that they engulf something. It's more that they've got a limited amount of air, so it keeps a smolder rather than a fire. So that's why the wrapping part of that is important. And there you have it. There is a bundle of my juniper tree that fell from the tree in the yard and repurposed into this. So I've already made several of them. I've got one that's gonna go to my mother, one that's gonna go to my sister, one that's gonna go to my friend Liz, who is a new witch, and I have some others that I still need to make. But if you didn't want to do the wand shape, which is, you know, something brand new to me that I just came up with, all you have to do is wrap it in the same technique and then snip off any hard branches that you have. But really, you can get as playful as you want with this. I did think about getting some of my dried rosemary and sticking that in there, so a juniper rosemary bundle would be nice. But that is how you make a bundle, and specifically this was a juniper bundle. So let me know in the comments below if you liked this, if you'd like to see a different kind of bundle. This is my first bundle tutorial, so hopefully I've covered things. If I didn't, I'll leave them in the description below. And I hope you guys have a wonderful New Year's. See you later.